From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
Time News Bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. Coming up, pension contributions of Executive Director of Center for Freedom and Accuracy, Andrew Awuni, comes under scrutiny in court as SNIT questions his capacity to sue in controversial takeover of Merchant Bank by Fortis. Textile workers protest suspension of task force clamping down on influx of pirated textiles. Utility providers assure customers of constant supply this Yuletide, except for defaulting customers who are said to owe 100 million Ghana cedis. Parliament approves allocations to more ministries and agencies from the 2014 budget, including 141 million Ghana cedis to the Electoral Commission. And presidency to make available tomorrow evaluation report on first two ministers to undergo performance appraisal. There's also showbiz, sports, and international news coming up.
Real life.
In our very first story, the commercial court hearing the controversial takeover of Merchant Bank by Fortis will on January 27 rule on whether or not the plaintiff, Andrew Awuni, has capacity to sue the Social Security and National Insurance Trust SNIT on behalf of contributors. The executive director of the Center for Freedom and Accuracy is challenging the sale of Merchant Bank because he believes the state and pension contributors who own the bank through SNIT are being shortchanged in the deal. But SNIT says the plaintiff has no capacity to sue today in court. Explain why it says so. All right, Annie Sabute was in court and he joins us with the details. Good evening to you, Annie. And
so, tell that I have a stab of papers in my hand.
I can tell. Okay, so one of the issues that's come up is the fact that is about the local, so the capacity of Andrew Awuni to sue or to try to stop the takeover of Merchant Bank by Fortis, and apparently came up strongly, and his pension contributions became the focus of the argument. What exactly is the issue, and why is SNIT pushing that position?
Exactly, it's right. You know, the last time when it was Tony Luther, actually the lawyer for Fortis, who brought the issue
who started
this whole thing, that capacity to sue, because Andrew Awuni is not a contributor to SNIT. However, his lawyers insisted that he's a contributor and he's been paying consistently. Okay, now then it shifted to him not being an active contributor to the pension scheme. Okay. Now today at the court, Egbert Febe, who is a lawyer, actually pulled a document from which he himself obtained from SNIT, and this is a copy. I don't know if the camera can capture that, and which he used as Exhibit B as part of his prosecution. And it's interesting. It's the first employer that Andrew Awuni had worked at the Ghana News Agency before, and then the National Investment Bank. So the NIB was the last organization he worked with before he joined a government in 2001 until the time that the NPP left power. Now, but in a submission, Egbert Fable accused or essentially told SNIT that even they have a very poor record keeping. And this is one of the reasons. For example, if you look at the current employer on Andrew Awuni's this thing, you have National Investment Bank. And the letter I have here is dated 5th December 2013. Now, Egbert Fable also submitted that if somebody is in politics or he joins government at the age of and is below 60 years, it's mandatory that he contribute to SNIT. And therefore, even the laws that establish SNIT stipulate that in the absence of the contribution coming forth, the Director General of SNIT has a responsibility to chase after the organization and make sure that that is paid. But unfortunately, that was not done. Therefore, Andrauni is within the remit to pursue this particular case, because at the end of the day, it is a huge contribution that is SNIT is trying to use to purchase Merchant Bank or to get Merchant Fortis to get
Okay, so if I understand you clearly, SNIT was arguing that Andrea Wuni hasn't contributed enough, or he has stopped contributing, and so he's not a regular contributor.
Precisely.
And they are suggesting that he's probably worked with only, according to their records, he's worked with NIB, but he's making the claim that because of the inaccurate records, they are reflecting that, or they're suggesting that he's worked with only one company when he's actually worked with two. And so that became an issue. So that's their counter to what they're saying.
Yeah, but for them, they are interested in the fact that this is somebody you claimed had never contributed to SNIT. Okay. And then here you are, we obtain a slip or a document from you, SNIT. And we come to you and say, look, this is their document. This guy actually worked there. Now, you are telling us that, fine, you work up until 2003, it never contributed. But Andrea Wuni was in government from 2001 to January 7th, when the MPP administration came to an end. And at that time, it was paying. So his argument is that if there's anything at all, it is SNIT that should be asking themselves, how come that they've not been able to match up to the very details up until the very time that the man left office, and that you come back and tell us that the man paid up in 2003, and yet the document you gave us has the date 5th December 2013 with the current employer, Ben SNIT. Okay. When he left the National Investment Bank, he worked elsewhere. Why is that not reflecting on the document you gave us? Okay. So they have serious.
And the document you're making reference to is currently on your screens right now. Now, another issue I understand that came up has to do with how much SNIT owns in Merchant Bank. Our understanding all this while has been that SNIT actually owns 90% shares in Merchant Bank, but apparently in court it came up that it actually was a different figure.
Exactly, because there were a lot of discrepancies. Because Egbert Fabel's argument or submission was also that all this while the argument was that SNIT has 68.3 or thereabout percentage shares in Merchant Bank, and therefore, they think that the deal they are giving Fortis is excellent, $90 million. Okay, fine. Now, it comes out to say that, look, he himself has cited other figures that have been produced. For example, there's one that is more than 80, and then the last one has to be 90.6%. And it's like, even if you base the 90.6% on, and you want to sell off the company, it just does not make sense, because the money itself is not enough. However, the lawyer for SNIT, Peter Yabo, says that, he described it as asset swapping. That's what he used as the basis for they arriving at the 90.6, but in all their documents, they've continued to stick to the fact that it is 68.8%.
Okay, right. So the 27th of January is when the court is going to rule on
Absolutely. So 27th of January will go, they are going to rule as to whether or not Andrew Awuni has the capacity to push this case through. But it's interesting to also know that the same commercial court tomorrow is also hearing another application that was brought by Fortis lawyer Tony Luther to also challenge the capacity of Andrew Awuni to go into this particular case. A while ago, I spoke to Kofi Benson, for example, who told me that, for example, they are very confident about that, irrespective of the outcome. They know that, it is time that the purse of the ordinary Ghanaian is not misapplied. Because at the end of the day, the point is that you are keeping the money, and that's one of the arguments of Egbert Fabel, that it is in trust. But the question is, in the trust of who? It is people's money you are using. You can't just say because we're putting you there and you're administering the money. You must administer the money appropriately so that at the end of the day we get benefits.
Right. Thank you very much. That was Ani Osabute, and he was in court for Joy News on this saga between Merchant Bank and Fortis. In other news, the Electricity Company of Ghana and the Ghana Water Company have assured customers of constant supply this Yuletide, except for those who owe. In the case of defaulting customers who owe about 100 million Ghana cedis, the two companies have announced an aggressive disconnection exercise starting Friday, December 22.
At least 70% of all monies owed them by the time the mass disconnection exercise is over. The funds, they explain, form a chunk of the money they need to operate in 2014.
And we all know that when we go for the Christmas break, we tend to spend more. And after the holidays, I'm not sure we'll have enough to pay our bills. So we are engaging them. It's a reminder that our customers should pay us before we go for the Christmas break. All customers, so long as you are using the postpaid and you are owing us, your bill is due. We expect that will come around to demand our money, and it will take the form of disconnection.
We are going to start we have a new project that we coming up. We have done our budgets, so we need money to implement all those projects that we have planned so far. So this is the time, I must say, that we think people will be willing to pay. And then, don't forget holidays. The holiday is coming. A lot of people will be at home, and those who have even forgotten to pay, I know that once the awareness is created that if they don't pay, we'll disconnect them. They'll go ahead and do the payment for us.
Customers have meanwhile been asked to readily make available to the disconnection teams evidence they have paid their bills to avoid situations where they will be unfairly disconnected. They add that an impending break for the Yuletide on Monday, December 23, will mean customers who are disconnected will have to wait until they resume in the new year, though a team will be available to respond to emergencies.
We can't say that it will be 100%, because there are what we call unplanned outages, where there are some through any accident or anything untoward should happen. Cable faults, that's more unannounced, that's the unplanned. But our men will be on the ground 24 hours during the holidays, so that they can move quickly to the field and then undertake any repairs that they ought to do.
No, I believe that it will be okay, though especially the western parts of Accra, they have a lot of water. And that is where the problem has been in recent times. But now that we are finished with the work that we were doing, I assure them that they will have a regular flow of water for the Christmas and enjoy it to the full.
Whereas the Electricity Company of Ghana Task Force has already begun the exercise to disconnect non-paying consumers, the Ghana Water Company Limited has meanwhile indicated it will start its exercise on Thursday, December 19.
The Electoral Commission has been allocated a total of 141 million Ghana cedis for its 2014 operations. Parliament approved the budgetary allocation, most of which will be used to finance the upcoming district-level elections in 2014. The EC, however, came in for some bashing from the MPs, who urged them to ensure the mistakes which occurred in the 2012 presidential and parliamentary elections are not repeated.
The Majority Leader, Benjamin Kumbo, in moving the motion for the approval of the allocation for the EC, referred to the recent election petition as enough reason to resource the Commission.
Supreme Court petition that just ended, a number of pointers were raised in relation to the capacity and efficiency of the electoral process. And some of them are technology-based. And so all the efforts to make sure that some of those irregularities don't occur will become a very important feature.
A member of the Special Budget Committee, Professor Jan Bafo, in reading the committee's report, indicated there may be the need to supplement the allocation.
The Minister of Finance has to find the additional amount of 186,097,575 Ghana cedis expeditiously to enable the EC conduct the impending election without any hitches, as any delays may affect the program outline of the Commission.
Member for Asawasi and Majority Chief Whip Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak urged the EC to ensure their requests reach the House in good time.
The Electoral Commission, as independent as it is, Mr. Speaker, we need to urge them, as their budget is being debated, that issues that need to be resolved in Parliament in terms of some amendment or some legislation should be brought to the House in time to enable all the hurdles to be jumped, so that when it comes to the timetable, it is not altered.
The Minority Leader also added to the call.
It's important because already we are late. And that is why the Minister is talking about the conduct of the elections in October. The elections originally were not meant for October. They were meant for late August or early September. We have to, push it backwards because we recognize that we are late.
The House has also approved the amount allocated for the Ministry of Roads and Highways.
Then in Parliament, the approval of the 36 million Ghana cedis allocated to the Youth and Sports Ministry was not without controversy after MPs noted that Jada was left out in the appropriation, even though it was captured as such in the 2014 budget. The sponsorship deal for the senior national football team, the Black Stars, also added to the debate.
Considering the fact that the various national teams, including the senior national football team, the Black Stars, the local Black Stars, and then the Black Maidens will participate in continental and world championship at various levels in year 2014, the committee is of the view that the amount allocated to the ministry is woefully inadequate.
JIDA's budget cannot be found within the estimate of youth and sports. Maybe why within the budget it's stated that it's under youth and sports, but the estimates we could not find it. We asked the Minister of Finance, they could not convince the committee. It's something we need to interrogate further. Let's know where the money is sitting and how much has gone to JIDA. That's why we need to reward excellence, reward competence, and reward all those things. If somebody all these years has committed himself to supporting the Black Stars, and last minute he is being denied that opportunity, it's unfair to the supporting fraternity. That's the concern I raise.
To go recruiting from wherever and sending people from various constituencies to sporting events, in particular to cheer up the national teams. I overheard the Deputy Minister of Information say that, are they not Ghanaians? The Speaker, if he wants it for the record, let him speak to the mic so that it will be captured on the record.
Then the member for Asante Achim North, Kwejoba Ajiman, raised concerns on the total sum going to the sponsorship of the Black Stars, a view a member for Tano North, Frida Prempe, also shared.
Advising the ministry to get in touch with the FA, because the FA has in debt of sponsorships that are particularly going for the Black Stars. GNPC is giving them $3 million. Glow is giving the Black Stars $9 million. Guinness is giving them $1 million. Rice Masters is giving them $100,000. Latest Foam gives them 100,000 Ghana cedis. Unibank just signed a sponsorship amount of 1.2 million with the Black Stars. Voltic is also sponsoring the Black Stars.
He did indicate to the committee that they have estimated 24 million Ghana cedis for the Black Stars participation in Brazil, 9 million for the under-17 in Costa Rica, and 2 million for the CHAN in South Africa. Mr. Speaker, by this estimate, you realize that the Ministry of Youth and Sports is definitely not going to be able to organize itself to run its statutory programs for the year.
The minister then denied knowledge of such arrangements.
We have not quoted any figures. I heard some people mentioning some figures. We have not quoted any figures. And today, as we speak officially, we have not received the budget for the Black Stars. We have not received. So any figures that are being put out are purely speculative. It is important that the august house such as this should know that as I stand here now, I have not received any official correspondence or communication as to how much it will cost to send the Black Stars or how much it will cost to send supporters.
The House subsequently approved of the allocation for the ministry.
Government will tomorrow make it public the evaluation of two ministers, Education and Energy and Petroleum, who were appraised by a special team at the presidency. The two are the first to undergo the performance review process introduced by President Mahama. The announcement was made by Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed at today's daily briefing at the Flagstaff House. Gifty Andapia has filed this report.
Murtala Mohammed said the two ministers have been assessed, although he had indicated yesterday the performance review will start today.
If you look at the appraisal that is being done, I can state that two ministries have been looked at by the policy unit and His Excellency the President. These ministries include the Ministries of Education and Energy. So from tomorrow we'll put the detailed assessment or appraisal that has been done to at least one of these ministries. and it is going to continue in that way.
Meanwhile, government has reacted to the Center for Democratic Development suggestions on the appraisal process. Programs Officer at CDD, Dr. Franklin Odro, called for a process to verify information to be delivered by the ministers and followed by punitive measures. But Murtala Muhammad said the CDD should rather be commending government for this initiative.
Well, I don't think that the CDD will be downplaying the fact that informing people as to the policy and program that you have is not part of good governance. That is the first point. Two, I also don't think that the CDD, in the stretches of imagination, would undermine the fact that people will be well informed as to targets that were set. Tomorrow, part of the detailed information will be given. This ministry indeed set these targets. These are the achievements they have been able to the things they have been able to achieve. These are the things they haven't been able to achieve. These are the reasons they gave for their inability to achieve that. I don't think that any serious, if you like, independent organization would downplay this. More so, this is a novelty, and I expect the CDD and other organizations to be praising this government and encouraging him that for the first time in our socio-political and economic history, you have a government who indeed is doing this. This is a novelty.
An interesting angle to the story, though, is that we are not sure whether deputy ministers will also be assessed or they will be part of the bigger ministry that is being assessed. The Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister, Murtala Muhammad, has also reacted to the CDD's questions, and he says that this move should be praised by the CDD because it sends strong signals to the ministers that they are being monitored by the entire citizenry. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Here we have more news coming up after the break. Stay tuned. The Ghana Health Service has rescinded its decision to demand 1% of the health insurance reimbursement paid to the various health centres. The Director General explains to Joy News the proposal was still under consideration and that it had not been concluded.
Administrators of the various health centres would not speak on record but are clearly unhappy about the attempt by the Ghana Health Service to claim 1% of the monies due them from the NHIA in settlement for services provided patients. According to them, they are already constrained with salary payments from their internally generated funds and the acquisition of new equipment to enhance their work, and that subscribing to the proposal was not an option, especially since the reimbursement themselves take too long. But the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Ebenezer Appiah-Dentra, said the issue had been misconstrued.
At the medical directors meeting, I agreed that okay, then we can make a contribution to a fund, and then we put in a mechanism as to the disbursement so that we can support each other. Because basically all of us have one goal: ensuring that the people in this country receive adequate care. It's not only the people in Accra or people in maybe just some strategic locations, but everywhere. So if you put resources, you can do that.
He, however, explains the rationale behind the initiative. He says will only be implemented once the medical managers of the government and district hospitals agree.
We've entered the National Health Insurance. We'll discuss with them, but then they will take time to prepare. Well, and it's good for us because we're also now trying to educate our people on it. But this one is just the discussion stage. So we will have to take time to clarify it more and more. So all those who are doubting its viability, we will just go slow on it and not just implement it because everybody has to come on board.
He added the Ghana Health Service is already negotiating with the NHIA on claim payment delays.
We have problems with rejection. So now, together with insurance, now they are developing e-claims. In other words, now you don't have to be writing. You use a computerized system and then you send your claims to them. We're also looking at certain areas where we felt that they should also be refunding when it comes to something like oxygen. Oxygen is serious, it's life-saving. I mean, people don't have oxygen. But unfortunately, it's not being itemized to be reimbursed.
The Ghana Health Service is also seeking to achieve uniformity in service delivery in 2014 by creating a health fund through the 1% NHIS disbursement from the various health institutions.
Deputy Minister of Health Dr. Tia Sugri has asked managers of hospitals and other health facilities to set up systems that will allow patients to file complaints around the clock. Such a 24-hour complaints desk, he believes, should address the numerous complaints about the poor conduct of some nurses towards their patients.
Alfred Sugri spoke as the guest of honor at the 2013 Senior Nurses and Midwifery Managers Conference. The conference, which was on the theme Compassionate Healthcare, the role of the nurse and midwifery manager, seeks to address the fast eroding compassion in healthcare delivery.
I entreat all hospitals and other facility managers to re-engineer their patient information system to ensure that a 24-hour call center is instituted where dissatisfied clients can register their complaints. Staff identification system should be enforced so that staff can also be identified by their names. This will enable us to identify staff whose services are praiseworthy, to be able to commend them, and non-professional conduct can equally be disciplined according to the ethics of the profession.
Director General for the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Ebenezer Piadenchera, lauded government's commitment towards the health sector and charged nurses to be considerate towards their patients.
Like the president is doing something differently. He's slashed 10% of his salary, he and his ministers, to support the health. He's challenged all the district chief executive and the ministers to take interest in maternal and child health, and then he's linking their position to their performance in these areas. So it's our turn to do something different. There should be a shared vision to ensure that now we identify all the vulnerable groups in the community, assign people to them, and then they monitor them. We've met the Kaya years. We've identified the nurses that should be overseeing the various groups where they stay, and we've linked them up to the hospitals. We call the insurance. They've registered them.
Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer George Kumichreme condemned misconduct by health workers and called for an effective sanctions regime to punish nurses and health workers who engage in unprofessional conduct.
President Mahama has inspected ongoing works on a centre which will house the Academy of Arts and Sciences, a body established by an Act of Parliament to nurture and promote the knowledge of arts and sciences.
The Academy, since its establishment in 1959, has had to share the premises of the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research. President Mahama, however, sought for work to begin in October 2012, with the Academy set to have its own offices by December 2014. The President, ahead of the inspection tour, held discussions with leadership of the Academy, including Professor Kofi Anyedoho, Professor Kilakpasoya, and Professor Jimambedu Akosa. Honorary Secretary of the Academy, who doubles as the project's consultant, explains the edifice will have, among others, a 400-seater auditorium and restaurants that will be available for public use and for social events.
Definitely. Everything we have to do, we have to go outside and rent facilities. Most of the time we go to the British Council, sometimes to the University of Ghana. Now we have our own auditorium. But we want this place to be accessible to the public also. It's more to do with making sure that a government-provided building is also accessible to members of the public. More importantly, it will help us to reduce our own demand on government, because you pay something for the use of the facility. Government is giving every department an ultimatum that you should generate a certain percentage of your expenditure. And if you don't do that, you will be in a difficult position.
The absence of appropriate office facilities has been blamed for the seeming minimal impact of the Academy on national development. The auditorium is expected to be completed by April 2014 and the entire secretariat by December the same year. For Joy News, Gifty Andoapia, Accra.
The Accra Metropolitan Assembly is continuing with this operation Let the Traffic Flow, with the mayor very much in the thick of affairs. The initiative, according to the Mayor Alfred Okuvandapoy, is to ensure motorists and pedestrians are spared the vehicular congestion that comes with the Yuletide. And when Joy News caught up with the Mayor engaged in traffic warden duties at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle here in Accra, he justified why he had to be directly involved.
Well, you see, I've given myself a challenge. I declared Operation Let the Traffic Flow. And if I declare Operation Let Traffic Flow, I must be here to monitor what I expect. And I'm here because we have a collaboration between MTTU, the police, the city authorities, NADMO, and all of us are working together. You understand? So I must be here. I can't sit in my office to expect. I have to be here, I have to be involved, and I'm very happy about what is happening. Since yesterday, the traffic has been flowing. People have been getting to their offices on time. They've been getting home on time. And you know, I've said that this year, Christmas, throughout the holidays, we want the traffic to flow. We want people, motorists, to get to their destination on time. No, you know, if you have a responsibility, so far as there's duty to perform, it doesn't matter the hour of the day, the duty must be performed. Your job must satisfy the people. You are there for the people. And if the people are sitting in traffic, why should I go home and sleep? No. I have to be there until I can guarantee that everybody is getting home safely and soundly and in good time.
Right, I'm not sure if the mayor is still there by now trying to direct traffic, but up next we bring you business news.
Time now for some business reports with me, Abigail Adumakwenchi. Now, some textile workers have been picketing against the decision to suspend the operations of the task force clamping down on the sale of anti-pirated wax prints, arguing that the move suggests insensitivity towards an industry that challenges. They are asking government to rescind its decision to avert a total collapse of the local textile industry.
The coalition of textile workers, among other players of the sector, marched through the streets of the capital to protest the suspension of the task force. Chanting with placards, they headed for the Trade Ministry to petition government to reactivate the task force.
Had a meeting with the Deputy Trade Minister, and he put some things across. He told you that you should bring reports to see how you can review the task force. You think it wasn't enough for you?
Not at all. It wasn't enough, because the task force, after their first exercise, there wasn't anything bad that happened, and we don't see why the minister should put hold to the activities of the task force. And we can see that it's a strategy, because this is the season, at least for the textiles businesses to sell. And this is the very time the government is putting hold of the activities of the task force. It means government is allowing those doing illegal business to continue doing, rather putting hold to the business, the genuine business operators. And for that, I think nobody will sit down and just look at it. When we met the deputy minister, from the way he was talking, and then now going to set up a committee, and the committee, how long is it going to take for the committee to work, and when are they going to present their report, and when are they going to, what new thing the minister thinks that the task force can do? We want to call on the government to ensure that the task force will resume their activities as soon as possible. If that fails, then I think the industry will advise itself.
Minister for Trade and Industry, Haruna Idrisu, after receiving the petition, assured the demonstrators government is still committed to the textile industry. He explained that government has no plans to abolish the task force, but rather restructure it to make it effective.
All I'm doing and all I ask for, all government is asking for, is for your cooperation. I need to restructure the task force to respond to the complexity of the problem. But there is no intention to stop the work of the task force. We will have a consultative stakeholder meeting, define the parameters and proceed with work. But I need your cooperation. One of the allegations I've had is that some of the intellectual property of some of the companies are leaked to the foreigners by workers of the textiles company. I cannot police that. I cannot identify those people. You must help me to identify it.
Well, Cocoa Board has refuted media reports that the company is being mismanaged, describing them as unfortunate and uninformed. A statement issued by the company traces the stories to an internal memo seeking to address challenges currently confronting the cocoa industry due to dwindling world market prices in the last few years. The statement explains that the suspension of promotions and annual increases in salaries and freeze on contract employment, as stated in the memo, is not alien to the staff of Cocoa Board, as similar measures, including slashing down of salaries, have been done in the past. They believe the measures are prudent management decisions to avoid potentially drastic actions such as restructuring and salary reductions. Cocoa Board says the procurement and construction of warehouses are strategic, as continuous hiring of private property is not economically sustainable in the long term. The statement sought to assure all cocoa farmers, staff and the general public that management of Cocoa Board will continue to protect and ensure the sustainability of the cocoa industry. Now, away from that, the ShopRite branch on the Oxford Street, which was shut down by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly yesterday, still remains locked. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly locked up the mall yesterday because it says the building had no occupancy permit. Joy News' checks today, however, revealed that the Unibank branch there was opened for business. Officials, however, declined to speak. The AMA, meanwhile, says it is unaware that the bank was opened. And that'll be all for business. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi.
Joy News Business was brought to you in association.
The headlines in the world of sports, and I have to tell you about what we promised. We promised we're bringing you live all the action for the FIFA Club World Cup, and it's actually ongoing now on the Joy Sports channel on multi-TV. You see your pictures out there. Bayern Munich currently live pictures. Bayern Munich currently up against Guangzhou Evergrande. They did quite well, Guangzhou Evergrande, in qualifying to the semi-final stage, the semi-final game, by beating Ahly by 2-0, but it's not working out for them currently in the game. Bayern Munich are leading by 3-0, and it's a game that they can certainly add more. It's 3-0 with a lot of power to add. Bayern Munich simply strong, simply unstoppable. That has been the season, that has been the story for them, and it's ongoing. Guardiola up against Marcello Lippi, and that's exactly what is happening there. So you can quickly roll over and join us on the Joy Sports channel there. A member of Ghana's 1978 Cup of Nations winning squad, Willie Kluche, says the Ghana FA must turn to experienced Ghanaian coaches in the pursuit of scouting help for Coach Kwesi Appiah. The FA announced Kwesi Appiah would travel overseas to build his capacity ahead of next year's World Cup in Brazil, and revealed plans to draft in some technical men, including Hamburg assistant coach Otto Addo. Willie Kluche, however, has questioned the motive behind seeking help overseas when the country could draw from the experience of tried and tested coaches here.
Now, I have confidence in the boys because Black Stars have done it before. This is the third time they are going. So I know very well that now they are building on the former achievement, so they can easily go forward. But the only thing is, people are saying we are in a dead of this thing. The group is, it's true that the group is a big group. But all those who have qualified for the World Cup are also strong. What we can do now, that is, God has blessed Kwesi Appiah. Look at how he qualified. So it's going, it's just like that. And I know he can achieve it. All that we have to do presently, when people are saying he should go to college and the rest, I don't agree.
Former coach of the Black Stars, Osam Dodo, speaking there. Sorry about that. And he's definitely saying that we don't need to go overseas, actually on the same wavelength with Willie Kluche. Now we can hear from Willie Kluche and also saying the same thing, saying that we should go and actually make sure that we pick our experienced coaches right here in the country.
The only problem I have here is that some people are saying that we need foreign, coaches to come and assist him. But I don't believe in that. I think we have the technical brains here in Ghana that we can put together for them to, help Kwesi Appiah, to go far in the World Cup. I'm talking about people like Ibrahim Sande, who have played for the national team, and people like Coach John Enshan, who played for Africa 11, not only played for Africa 11, but captain Africa 11. These are technical brains that we have in this country that people don't regard them as technical brains. These guys can be put together to help Kwesi Appiah, because mind you, they have coached Kwesi Appiah, and Kwesi Appiah had a lot of respect for them.
Right now, to quickly get into what's happening around the world in terms of games that are ongoing. We're getting to England right now and find out what's happening in the Capital One Cup. Chelsea currently leading Sunderland by 1-0. It is their quarterfinal, and they'll be seeking the place in the semi-final. Manchester City leading Leicester City by 2-0. Very much well. And just as we're telling you about the game between Bayern Munich and Guangzhou Evergrande, 3-0 in the FIFA Club World Cup, you want to get there. Let's get into the Spain Copa del Rey, and Elche losing by 1-0 to Villarreal. Is Getafe up by 4-1 against Girona, and Levante leading Recreativo Huelva by 4-0. Osasuna drawing 1-0 with Malaga, and the game between Barcelona and Cartagena will take place later on. We'll be facing and finding out what happens there. That'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Addy Jr. Israel will join us with some more. Don't forget to join us on the Joy Sports channel for the FIFA Club World Cup. Good night.
Sports was brought to you in association with.
Have been treated to a fun-filled romantic comedy which touches on the intrigues of relationships in contemporary times. The play, When Last Kisses Love, was written by Love FM's Luis Lamis.
Shoes. Hey, those shoes were not rotten. They were nice shoes. What are shoes got to do with this discussion?
When Last Kisses Love tells the story of infidelity in marriage. Bernard, who is married to Jacqueline, arranges with his mistress, Suzanne, to come and spend the weekend with him and celebrate her birthday as well, whilst his wife Jacqueline's travelled. Jacqueline is worried Bernard will be left alone in the house, but he lies to her that he has invited Robert, his best buddy and best man, to join him. Unknown to Bernard, his wife Jacqueline is also having an amorous affair with Robert. She quickly calls off her trip, pretending to be sick, just so she can get to enjoy Robert being close when she hears Robert is coming over to spend the weekend in her absence.
Well, darling, you see, perhaps I had better explain. Perhaps you had. I'm not going to be entirely on my own after all. Really? No. Who is she, Bernard? Don't get the wrong idea. I should not get the wrong idea. Robert rang yesterday, and he was... Robert? Yes. Well, he's back from Tamale, you see. They're Robert, my best friend Robert, remember our best man Robert.
Eventually, all four of them are found under one roof and they begin to suspect each other. In a short while, they all find out about their extramarital affairs and there is chaos in the house. The play, When Last Kisses Love, which was written by Love FM's Luis Lamy, was presented by Love FM in partnership with Spring Verve Production at the KNUST Auditorium.
That's it for Showbiz.
Showbiz was brought to you by...
And through our top stories, pension contributions of Executive Director of Center for Freedom and Accuracy, Andrea Wuni, comes under scrutiny in court as SNIT questions his capacity to sue in controversial takeover of Merchant Bank by Fortis. Textile workers protest suspension of task force clamping down on influx of pirated textiles. Utility providers assure customers of constant supply this Yuletide, except for defaulting customers who are said to owe 100 million Ghana cedis. Parliament approves allocations to more ministries and agencies from the 2014 budget, including 141 million Ghana cedis to the Electoral Commission. In presidency to make available tomorrow evaluation report on first set of ministers to undergo performance appraisal. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Israel Lai.